This is Duke University.
Ankit, I know that you did one of the Fuqua Client Consulting programs this past year. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So the Fuqua Client Consulting Practicum is basically a 6-month-long program, and you get 6 credits for that. You basically work for a firm that requires a certain help from you in terms of either consulting kind of a role. So you're providing them expertise in a certain area or providing them help to solve a problem. So there are different types of FCCP programs. Primarily, the one that I did was with a firm, with GE actually, and it was in Brazil. And I had the opportunity to travel to Brazil for 2 weeks over the spring break. And they really wanted to get our help in identifying the market in Mexico and Brazil. The way the program was structured was that we started working on the program sometime in November or December. And that's when we started having those formal calls with the client in Brazil and trying to get to know what's the problem that they want us to work on. And so we started working on that, started doing our research. We also reached out to several professors at Fuqua, and not only at Fuqua, but also in Duke, specifically in the School of Energy, Nicholas School of Energy and the Environment. So that was a way to get to know different professors and learning from their experiences and expertise. And then, so we worked on the project in January and February, trying to get it up to a level so that once we go to Brazil, specifically Sao Paulo, for 2 weeks, we were able to work with the client in their office location and trying to fine-tune things over there. Also, we conducted several interviews with key stakeholders in Brazil. And finally, we were able to give a presentation to the client in Brazil and prepared a report that was our formal submission to the professor at Fuqua. I think overall, the experience taught us a lot, primarily how to work in those team settings in a consulting environment. So I come from a background which was in the aerospace industry, and I was an engineer. I never had worked in the consulting field before. And I wanted to do consulting over the summer. And I thought that FCCP would be a great opportunity for me to get that experience.
Yeah, to build some of the consulting type skills. And so did you find that to be true when you did your summer internship at PwC, that you were able to apply some of the things that you had gone through with the FCCP?
Sure, I think I did learn a lot, specifically how to work in teams. Even though we work in teams at Fuqua, we have our C-lead teams. But when you work in the client location for 2 weeks and you have to deliver under a schedule, and you have to work in those a little bit of tense environments, you learn a lot from them. And also doing research and basically getting in touch with people, to the right kind of resources, and getting information from them. A lot of these skills are used in consulting, and I was able to use a lot of these skills during my summer at PwC.
Yeah, so you would highly recommend anyone who is interested in consulting doing the FCCP.
Definitely doing FCCP if they're really interested in consulting and if they don't have a background in consulting. Besides from FCCP, I mean, they also have an option of doing mentored study, which is a great option, which I'm planning to do in my spring 1 and spring 2 semester terms of second year.
And you had mentioned that a lot of what you were able to learn in the FCCP was around teaming, although you'd obviously been in teams since really you arrived at Fuqua. Were there any other academic classes that you found helpful to your success in your internship in addition to the FCCP?
Sure. As you know, we have to take like 9 core classes. But after that, in spring 1 and spring 2, you have the flexibility of taking electives. And I think I strongly recommend that students should choose electives that would be helpful for them during the internship. So one of the electives that I took was supply chain management, because taught by Professor Lee Chen. Because I was going into the operations practice and I wanted to equip myself with all the different types of scenarios in supply chain management and all the different type of terminologies and tools that we learned using like different modeling techniques in supply chain. And I think I applied a lot of them during my internship, specifically to areas like inventory management, logistics management. And I learned a lot of those skills in supply chain management. And so I think that was another class that really helped me to prepare for my internship.
Okay, good. So in your first year, you had a core operations class,
Yes.
but you decided to dig a little bit deeper
Yes.
just before the start of your internship.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
had operations in Spring 1, and I tried to complement that with supply chain management in Spring 2.
Right. So that's a great argument for being able to take electives
Yes.
before your internship even
Definitely.
begins. And so what sort of things academic things are you focusing on for this upcoming year?
So for the upcoming year, to decide the classes that I want to take, I talked to a lot of people at PwC and took their suggestions as to what classes I should be taking. And I really got a lot of good suggestions specifically towards taking a lot of finance classes. If for someone like me who's from an engineering background and do not have those finance skills,
Right.
I think it's really important to take those classes, even though you are probably not very comfortable taking those classes, but getting a sense of how a company's capital structure is, trying to break through their balance sheets and trying to figure out what's the bottom line, how they can improve it, what's their leverage, and things like that. I mean, it really helps you in a consulting environment because you can get to know a lot about a company just by looking into their books.
Yes.
And just by looking into how is their capital structure. So I'm taking a lot of finance classes. And so as I told you, I'm also taking a mentored study program, which is, again, my attempt to do some more consulting kind of roles for a small startup in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Oh, great, great. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, this has been very helpful.